Hi, I'm Tansy Leary, a certified professional dog trainer and the owner of Dog Crazy Lady. And this video is going to help teach you how to teach your pup how to hand target. So a hand target is probably one of my favorite games to teach when I'm working with clients privately. And the reason why is because it is so versatile. You can teach it to dogs to use really in any situation. And really, if I get a call from a client that says, I'm having this problem, I didn't know what to do, I say, did you try a hand target? So what we're doing with a hand target is we're teaching the dog that if he sees our hand held out flat with our hands kind of in a position where the fingers are pointing down, so not up like a stop signal, but pointing down with the fingers towards the ground, the dog should move towards it and touch the palm of our hand with his nose. And when the dog does that, it really interrupts his train of thought, interrupts any emotional feelings that he's having, and sort of gives him something else to do. So the kinds of reasons we would want to use a hand target or the kinds of situations where we might choose to use a hand target are times when maybe we would be calling the dog to come to us from another place, like across the room or across the yard, or times where we need to relocate the dog. Maybe the dog has climbed up on the couch or on the bed and we want the dog to move. So sometimes I'll have people maybe who have a dog or a puppy who when they try to move the dog physically, the dog is growling or snapping, and we can't move the dog physically. And I tend not to do that anyway. I will always ask dogs to cooperatively move instead to avoid that problem in the first place. And I use a hand target to do it. Um, and in general, I love to use hand targets so that dogs are quite comfortable with hands near them and when hands are outstretched towards them by people like veterinarians, groomers, and strangers who are always reaching towards our cute dogs to pet them. Other great ways to use hand targets are just redirecting attention. So let's say I'm out on a walk, and especially with dogs who are fairly new to training, who don't have a lot of sophisticated skills yet, and I see something off in the distance that I know is going to catch my dog's attention in a way that I'm not interested in. Maybe it's a dog that belongs to a neighbor and I just don't really want to cross paths with that dog, or maybe I see a squirrel, just something I don't really want to interact with, and I'm going to start using a series of hand targets in a row to get my dog's attention. Or maybe we're at the vet waiting for our turn and I want my dog to sort of pay attention to me instead of getting nervous about things that are going on there. So I'm going to use several hand targets to sort of keep my dog busy instead of sniffing around or looking around. Or if any of you have ever had a young puppy, you know that puppies sort of plop down when you're sort of starting your walks or starting your leash walking around the neighborhood. They sort of just plop and they don't want to move, which is fine. It's fine for puppies to sort of sit and plop and sniff and hang out, but sometimes we do need to get moving again, and a hand target is a nice way to sort of ask the puppy to get going. And then of course puppies too, they love to use their teeth to explore the world, but I really like to start teaching them not to use their teeth, use their noses instead, and a hand target is a lovely way to encourage that. It's also a nice way to interrupt. If I get into the puppy's space and I see the gleam in the eye, I will sort of redirect that thought by starting a quick game of hand target.
Fix, touch. Yes, good boy. Good. Okay. Touch. Good. Good job.
So how do you hold your hand if you are teaching a hand target? Well, what if your dog has already been taught to shake or give paw? In that case, the explanation's a little bit different. You're going to maybe hold your hand like a fist for a fist bump, maybe a thumbs up so your dog is targeting a thumb, or maybe two fingers so that they're touching the pads of your fingers. But if that's not the case, then you're going to do what's called a blade shape with your hand, which is a flat hand. And the palm of your hand is going to face your dog's nose. So your dog's nose is going to be touching right here on the palm. Blade shape means that your fingers are held together fairly stiffly, not sort of loose, and fingers aren't spread apart like this or like this. Your hand is together. Your fingers are going to angle down towards the ground. You're not going to be holding your hand up like a stop signal or a wait signal. And the distance between your dog's nose and your hand is about 2 inches. 2 inches, that's a small amount. I feel like when I say 2 inches, a lot of times the distance between the dog's nose and the person's hand is going to be, gosh, it's going to be this huge distance like this, a foot, 2 feet. And I'm always sort of saying, no, 2 inches. Or I feel like I'm at the hairdresser where I say, hey, can you cut off 2 inches? And then I look down at the floor and this much hair is laying on the floor. And I'm so disappointed. So 2 inches really is 2 inches. Now, your other hand that isn't targeting is maybe holding your treats, but hidden behind your back. Or maybe the treats are in your hand, but your hand is in your pocket. Or maybe those treats are set in the counter or in a container somewhere nearby on a shelf. But the hand with the treats is not held out anywhere near the hand that is the blade shape, because the dog who doesn't know what to do yet is going to be way more interested in a handful of treats than in the empty hand. So now you're ready to play. You're going to hold out that target hand and your dog's going to come forward and touch his nose to your hand. As soon as you feel that nose, you want to quickly use your marker word, good. You might use a different marker. Maybe use a clicker, maybe you use the word yes. If you've never heard of a marker, you can Google a little bit to learn more about that. But basically, it is some sound that we make to let the dog know the moment that we liked their behavior, and it bridges the gap between the time the behavior is performed and the moment we're able to deliver the food, because we're not always fast enough to deliver the food as quickly as we need to for the dog to link the food delivery to the performance of the behavior. All right, so the nose touches the hand, I say good, now I reach down with a piece of food. How do I do that mechanically? There are a couple of options. I might be using my right hand as my target hand and have a handful of food in my left hand. That handful of food is usually in my pocket or behind my back. I personally use a thumb to roll a piece of food out to my thumb and my index finger, and I feed the dog. I've done this 8 million times, so I find it easy. Some of my clients find that really uncomfortable or awkward. So what we tend to do for those folks is we just have some food on a counter nearby. They can just reach over and grab one piece of food and feed it to the dog, right? Whatever is more comfortable for you is completely fine. Once you've had that successful repetition, I want you to keep going. I like to work in sets of 5 or sets of 10. It kind of depends on my dog and their attention span or their age, whether I choose sets of 5 or sets of 10. As you repeat, you want to sort of stay in the same place when you first get going. So if I'm working on the left side of the dog's head with my right hand, I'm going to stay there a few times, but then I'm going to maybe move to the left side of the dog's head with the same hand. Then I might go ahead and go below their head, above their head, just a little bit. And then I'm going to switch and use my left hand as a target, right? So I'm going to kind of move it around so that the dog doesn't always think it looks exactly the same. Otherwise, when the dog sees me in a new location or a new place, they're going to be confused. I'm also going to play in different rooms of the house. I'm going to play standing, I'm going to play sitting, I'm going to mix it up as much as I can.
Good. 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 Good.
So now you've got a good start on your hand target and it's time to practice. We're going to have some follow-up videos for you. One is a troubleshooting video in case things don't go quite as planned, and the other is adding challenge for when things are going smoothly and you're ready to make things a little bit more difficult. Check those out on our YouTube channel, and as always, you can find more information at our website, dogcrazylady.com.